Lay off a third of the team and expect us to work harder. We will see about that.
So this happened sometime in the 2010s somewhere in the UK, that's all I'm revealing. I worked for a medium-sized PLC and a small team that worked with the sales department getting quotes. I had previously worked in another team in a different department in the same company as well. This also includes elements of malicious compliance. I'll post this there as well. So to set the scene, the company had recently had some issues with regulators, and senior management were either oblivious to the damage they were doing or didn't care. They were trying to save costs but going about it all the wrong way. So my team consists of 6 team members and a manager. We were fairly busy and often helped out on other teams as well, and they would in turn help us. This is important for later. So we are all called into a meeting without warning and told that due to declining work tickets they were laying 2 of us off. They did say 2 people were safe, the manager and his sidekick. They made us reapply for our jobs, including doing a test, following the letter of the law on redundancy, which had nothing to do with our roles. It also became apparent during the process that the company flat out lied, or at the very minimum manipulated the data used to come up with their conclusion of falling ticket numbers. They dropped by 13 from year 1 to year 3, bear in mind it was a total of several thousand tickets a year. In the end the company carried on and 2 team members were removed and made redundant, one of whom took a golden handshake, the other sued the company for various things, not really worthy of mention here, and won. After the dust settled it also became apparent manager secured his sidekick's position despite him being the worst member of the team in terms of work done and work quality. So in the weeks after, the entire team were too busy to help other teams who then stopped helping us, so a huge backlog of tickets also built up. We also got threatened with disciplinary proceedings if our backlog didn't come down, but was also refused any overtime. During the process we had also been admonished for skipping steps in getting both steps that often took a significant amount of time and served no purpose, so me and 2 others remaining, not including sidekick who had his nose so far up manager's rear ended and came out of his mouth, decided to do everything by the book, down to every last bullet point. This made the backlog of work even worse, but they couldn't say anything. One week we had another meeting with HR, the sales director and our manager, to discuss the issues. We all calmly said we are sorry but we have to follow the guidelines and rules laid down, and this is as fast as we can work. We were also asked to start helping out the other teams again, as we should be team players. Again we said we are sorry but we can't. Our workload is too high and it's also not in our contracts that we have to do other teams' work. This went on for several months and management still refused to believe we were overworked. When it was time for holidays we realized they hadn't changed the amount of people allowed off from 3. So we all booked holidays. They both went abroad and I decided to visit family the other end of the UK. Of course when manager realized, a week before, he went nuts and another meeting with HR was called. We all calmly said sorry but we checked the rules for our team and 3 people out of 4, manager could do what he likes, can be off at any one time. And again stood our ground and all went on leave for 2 weeks each. This caused even more chaos at work, as you can imagine. The sales director after this hatched a plan to get the Indian teams, we had offices in India and other offshore places, to be trained up by us and to help us. However, they demanded we fly out to spend weeks there training them. Again we all refused, as it's not in our contracts to be trainers or to have to work abroad. They ignored the fact that I didn't have a passport at this point. So poor old manager and his sidekick traveled out and trained them for weeks. Eventually both stayed for over 2 months and failed to train them. We would send low effort tickets to them and they would screw it up, and we simply said sorry, to fix this we need to do it again. So after 6 months they gave that idea up entirely. After around a year or so of this, I'm being deliberately vague on timing so please don't ask about it, we all decided to all seek other employment, having found we all could not trust the company or manager anymore. And we all found roles elsewhere within a week of each other, so all handed our 4-week notices, again to the letter of our employment contracts, and were due to all leave on the same day. Now the female member of the team, who was a very learned person, and she revealed in all our contracts any documentation we create as ours, and we can do with it how we wish when we leave. So we hatch a plan. In the final week we are there, we move all our digital stuff to one location, including all my manuals and cheat sheets for my previous team. They both did the same with their previous positions within the company. On our final day we bring in our own external drives, and with IT's help download and removed all documentation, and deleted the copies on the company systems. We all said our goodbyes and at the end of the day quite happily told our manager what we had done. He exploded and demanded it back, and we calmly tell him not according to the letter of our contracts. This, waving the drives at him, is ours and we choose to remove it with us. We were later told by friends who remained that the sales director had a fit because now no one was doing for him. Gladly we all have had great new places and keep in touch.
Mess with minors and my job? Lose your job and your boyfriend.
Edited some stuff, thanks all 100 of you for the correction of intensive purposes to intents and purposes. Also thanks to all who upvoted, gave awards and commented. Much love. Hey folks, first post in here, hopefully it fits here. Throwaway because some folks in the story may know my Reddit, so you know safety and all. Also done on mobile, sorry for formatting. TL, doctor at the end because this is a doozy. Alright, circa 2014 I worked for a large movie theater chain in a small Midwestern city. Job was pretty awesome outside of the beat pay and essentially no way to move up. I like to think I am good at my job and I try my hardest no matter where I work. In this particular situation I was one of the most tenured employees at the theater, save for two other folks who had worked there part-time on the side, and had full-time jobs elsewhere. So for the sake of this story I need to tell you about Jane, not actual name. Jane started working for the theater 2 months before me. They worked elsewhere as a supervisor and was looking to move up at the theater. Right after I started, one of the managers left to work at a different theater and the supervisor moved up. We had two managers, one general manager, basically the highest level at the theater, and a supervisor, which is a manager in training. This is important. Jane somehow got the supervisor position even though there was another person who essentially was promised the position due to their continued service at the theater for almost 8 years. There were rumors about Jane sleeping with the GM when she started, and this situation got them going again. I didn't care too much because why would I am but a lowly peon in the corporate machine. Anyways, Jane moved up and the tenured crew member left the company because they got screwed over. Once Jane moved up, we had a whole meeting about her moving up and how the theater focuses on professionalism and ensuring no favoritism was happening. Specifically referencing how normal crew members shouldn't fraternize outside of work with management. Jane didn't really listen to that though. She continued to hang out with the crew members who were mostly underage and would do various things like go drinking with minors, taking them to bars and buying them drinks, or simply buying alcohol at a store and letting them drink at her house. I honestly have no issue with the drinking at home deal, just adding context, as well smoke weed with them and post pictures on Instagram. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention Jane had a secret Instagram where they would post pictures of themselves with their friends from the theater. They chose Instagram because none of their family or their boyfriend used Instagram and no one would know, right? Even more damning was her relationship with a 19-year-old that worked at the theater. She had a boyfriend who had been with her for years and honestly supported her for all intents and purposes. Not only did she have a 19-year-old side piece, but also was messing around with a 17-year-old. I even caught them messing around in the break room one time. She essentially threatened me with my job if I told anyone. Honestly, she could have just told me to please be quiet, and I would have just judged her silently. Fast forward about a year or so and another one of the managers left for a new job. Jane obviously moved up and someone else took the supervisor position. Now I won't go into too much detail, but despite my tenure and performance I was looked over for the promotion. A newer crew member who was really good friends with Jane got the position over me. This was confirmed by the other manager who let me know that Jane was definitely in good with the GM, who ultimately made the final decision. That being said, I was beginning to sour and making minimum wage for years at a job that couldn't give a beep about my efforts and continued performance. That being said, I was preparing for an exit. Before I get into my exit, it is important to note that Jane had and most likely still has a problem with me. I have talked about some issues I had with her, but I never escalated or even confronted her about anything she did to me up to this point. I honestly left it be. But I didn't like her, and the fact that I didn't like her or play along with her beep infuriated her. So much to the point where she made my life hell at the theater. When she was a supervisor she didn't have much power, but when she became manager she began giving me beep shifts, convincing people that I was weird and to avoid me. I mean, I am weird but not like avoid me weird, threatening me physically, threatening my job. Her and her gang of misfit assholes also slashed my tires. I have no solid proof, but my car was parked in the employee lot and only employees can get in. Beyond that, she also made fun of my girlfriend, my now wife, for having an invisible illness, MS. She would make her life hell because she had a disability and had some minor limitations. Add together all of this, plus my GF went off to college, plus getting looked over for the promotion, suffice it to say I found a new job. I had a few close friends at the theater, including my now wife who I met while working there. Silver lining, right? I had let a few of them know about the new job, but told them to keep it on the DL since it was still 2 weeks away. I had put my 2 weeks in with the GM and asked that he also keep it on the DL since Jane and her posse would beep with me. I told him that I wanted to tell everyone myself, so it kept him quiet. Now the important thing about my new job is that it essentially paid me double my wages from the theater. All of my friends were stoked for me. I was taking a job that would also have me making more than the managers at the theater, but also a job that put me on a better track in life. That being said, with Jane and I butting heads on multiple occasions and her track record of messing with me, she decided to get one last attack on me. She started a rumor that I was just going to call out on all of my shifts the 2 weeks before my new job started. With her last act of revenge in motion, the GM approached me and let me know that he wouldn't be scheduling me the last 2 weeks. I tried to explain to him that the rumors were beep, that I needed to work because it would be my only source of income. I told him that Jane started the rumor, and I started to tell him all of the other stuff as well. He of course didn't believe me and told me that Jane wouldn't do what I was saying she would do. So it was her word versus mine. I contacted my new job, who let me know that my start date was firm and that their budget wouldn't allow me to start until 2 weeks later as originally planned. Now here I am essentially jobless for 2 weeks. Now I was upset, but I was also lucky. I was still living with family and didn't have to pay rent, so I sucked it up and essentially told myself that I would just take a forced 2-week vacation. But Jane didn't stop there. She escalated again by having one of her cronies call my new job and tell them that I got fired. I was luckily able to talk down my new boss by letting him know that this wasn't the case, that I put my 2 weeks in and everything else, but that was the last straw. I left my last day at the theater, and while it was sad and I was upset that I wouldn't be able to work out the last 2 weeks of my job that I had for years, I was focused and determined on revenge. Rule number 1 of living a secret life and having a secret Instagram is not add everybody and their mother to the page. I had a friend of a friend who also didn't care for Jane, let's call them Joe. Joe and I had gone to high school together and briefly worked at the theater together. He and Jane were part of the same group at the theater until they had a small falling out. Nothing crazy, but he wasn't exactly happy with her. I talked to Joe and we discussed my issues with Jane over some lunch that I bought for him. Food is the key to all revenge plots. Once we ate and discussed my problems with Jane, I asked for his help. I needed access to her Instagram. You know, the secret one, showing her hanging out with underage employees, drinking alcohol and smoking weed with them, and also some mushy posts about her 19-year-old boyfriend, as well as some moderately racy photos with her 17-year-old fling. With very little discussion, he gave me full access. I took screenshots of essentially everything. We are talking 2 to 3 years worth of illicit and moderately illegal activity. More than enough to get her fired and to raise some questions in her relationship. I took the screenshots and I printed them on the most high quality, link redacted, that CVS had to offer. I also copied them to a few flash drives for good measure. I purchased 2 yellow padded envelopes, can never be too safe, and I filled them both with copies of all of the posts as well as a flash drive with additional copies. As well, I included a note in each one for the appropriate parties. One of the envelopes was taped to the back door of the theater. There was somewhat of a blind spot, so pulled into the parking lot from the rear and snuck around the corner, Mission Impossible style, to tape the envelope to the back door. On it was the GM's name. As well, in the letter I merely stated that one of their managers had a secret Instagram with a lot of damning evidence of not only favoritism, but also fraternizing with underage employees amongst other wrongdoings. In the letter I also requested her immediate termination, or the information would be provided to the district manager as well as our corporate office. I made sure to put it somewhere the GM would see on his morning sweep when he opened the theater. The second folder and letter was delivered to her home by Joe. Joe agreed to this as I knew Jane's schedule and had a good idea of when she would be gone, and he knew where she lived from previous hangouts. With both folders delivered, it was only a matter of time. Before I knew it, I was receiving death threats from Jane's gang. All of them saying that they knew it was me and that Jane was going to come after me, that she never did anything to deserve this. It didn't matter to me, of course. I no longer worked there, and hopefully never have to deal with them again. From what I heard, she was taken into the main office of the theater and the GM let her have it. He ultimately had to fire her because there was very clear proof that she was in direct violation of many of the rules and conditions of her employment. As well, her boyfriend with proof in hand kicked her out of his home. Last I heard, she moved farther north and hasn't held down a solid job since. Her family didn't want much to do with her once everything came out with her cheating on her boyfriend. Also, the part about fooling around with a 17-year-old tends not to sit well. In the end, I started my new job without fail and moved on from that place. Haven't seen much of anyone from there since. TL, doctor, manager makes my life hell, continues to hang out and fool around with underage crew members, lives to regret it. Enjoy losing your job and your boyfriend.
May your day be filled with joy and happiness. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more quality content every day.